Hey guys, so today I'll be solving another meta tagged question on Leetcode, and I will try to again do it in 20 minutes along with its variant. Alright, so let's get started and try to do dry run edge cases and so on. Once I paste the questions, I'll start my 20-minute timer. So this is the question, and alright, so you're given an absolute path for a Unix-style file system which always begins with a slash. Your task is to transform this absolute path into a simplified canonical path. The rules of Unix file systems are as follows. Single period represents current directory, and a double period previous parent directory. And the multiple consecutive slashes such as this, only one slash. And sign if there are multiple, then it's a file name. The path must start with directories within the path must be separated by exactly one slash. A path must not end with a slash unless it's a root directory, and the path must not have any single or double periods used to denote. Okay, so let's say if we have a path where it should start with this A, this, B, and this. So the output here would be A, one slash B, and we have to remove extra slashes and the last slash. Another one could be, let's take the same example. Let's say instead of this, we have this. So this should take us to the previous directory. So if we do this, then it should take us to so this would just be this, right? Because when we are here, this is the previous directory, and then we have to remove that. Yeah, but if it was this same example, and then when we just add this would return in slash AAA slash B. Yeah, one second. I think that is it. And okay, yeah, I think those are all the edge cases. Of a few questions I'll have is characters. So it could be any ASCII characters. So A to Z and big A to Z 1029. And other thing could be and also like dots, slashes, and underscores. Mhm. Can it be an empty string? No, for this one. Okay. I think I have an idea. Maybe what we can do is brute force where so we can go character by character. So we know that this needs to be appended, right? So what we can do is we can have an answer list and we will initialize it with this because we know that is what we want. And then we go over, we'll keep one pointer here. Let's say we'll start at one index and we'll take and keep on going until we encounter another slash here. So we know that this would be the current directory name. So we will append that as a list itself. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a list. We can just do that. And then we append that in the list. And then moving on, we also append this in the list. And once we know that this is the end directory name, we can automatically append that. And then when we encounter like these, so we will just remove from the dictionary, but sorry, from the list. But if we do any delete operation, would be O of n in the list. So there is a better, so the time complexity would have been O of n. That is to go over entire list plus whatever however many times we had to iterate over the list to find. So let's say O of n, however many operations that we would do on a list. So there is a better optimization that we could do. So let's do stack, right? Because eventually we have to pop and everything would be all the operations. For example, removal when this is the when it's double dot, then we can just pop the current directory from the stack. And same, like we don't even have to store slashes in the stack. We can just have like all the current directory names. So for example, AAA, then B, and then we can take care of cases when that's two dots, one dot, and that is like of all the slash. And keep track of current directory. Like build the current directory and then reset it once we encounter slashes. Okay, I can code this up and then I'll just do a quick write run. So define simplified path. It'll take in what's the name? We can just say path, which is a string, and it'll also return a string. And as mentioned, I'll have a stack, and I'll also do uh, what did I need to do? Oh, current directory, which would just be an empty string. Now we do for character in path, and we have to take care of three conditions. The first one would be when it's a backslash. Second one would be when it's double dots, and third one would be when it's a single dot. Okay, so if character equals this, I think it's a little bit more complicated when it's that, right? So if suppose if character equals, actually we check for current directory. Like this one we check for character, but this one would be current directory. And then we will do if stack, then stack dot pop, and then if current directory equals just single dot, then we append that, right? That stack dot append current directory. And that is if it is not equal to this, that is when we will append. And if suppose also it will be an else if condition, and if it's and it needs to be a current directory, otherwise it will cause some and this. So that's the thing. And then now we add this character to the current directory plus equals character. But then if current directory, again the same situation, equals this. So we just do a stack.pop, and then if current directory, and then again this condition would also hold true. Because this one will work when there was no slash in it, but if suppose we do encounter something like that after the slashes, then this would take care of the last part of it. Then we do append it to the stack. Otherwise, we just keep on increasing, right? Else current directory is equal to this. This would be here. And then I think we'll have to, at the end, just return your outside dot should be no, it should be this dot join stack. That is what it should be, and then we know that initially we need so plus here another one. Okay, so let's say this is what we will track. Stack is empty and character. Let's do example path actual path and answer dot dot. Wait. Mhm. Okay. So I think this has all the cases. So let's say we start with stack, right? And as we are going over here, our character is P. So for character, this is not the case. It's not that. So we will add it to the current directory. So path. Then our character is A. Again, this condition is not needed. So we will, this won't execute, this will execute. So we will add A. Our character is T. So again, this condition will execute. And for H, so H will be it. Now we encounter, this was here, right? And so wait, we have included this. Now we've gone to this character. So right now, this is the case. So if current directory, it's not that. If current directory is that it, no. Then So this is not true. If current directory and current directory is not equal, then we will append this. This is what will get executed. So let's append our current loop path. And I think here we initialize current directory equals this. I think we need to reset it, right? So once this is executed, that means our current directory should be blank again. Hmm. Let me check this once. Yeah, I don't think this will be it. Because if we do it at the end, then it'll prevent it from accumulating multiple characters. So I guess if this is the case, then we can like reset it because that is when. And then we go on to this, the current directory becomes empty, and then we start again. So if this is encountered, this is not true, this is not true. We don't even append it to the tag and we move forward. Same with this. I'm not exactly sure. Uh, we might not really need this additional code, would just return that. But from what I remember, like for example, if A, B, C, D, E, and if this needed to be processed, then we had to build the current dictionary. I could be wrong, but yeah, now that is said, then there is. We do the same with answer, and then we append answer, and then it resets again. Now, when it comes here, it'll check if this is the condition. No, 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 no. Then we just don't really add it because. And then we come here and we see this is it. So we pop this from stack. The answer gets popped because that is what our current path will hold. And then we will go ahead and I think it solved all the cases. And here the time complexity would be O of n because it rated once. and this is O of 1, O of n, sorry, because we go through entirety. And the worst case could be O of n for this stack, O of n for space. And every operation here would be O of n. So yeah, space would be O of n. Worst case scenario. Yep. And then now that 20 minutes are up, there is a variant that is very common in Meta. Let's see if we can get that done in 10 minutes. Let me set a time. Let me paste the variant. Okay, so in the variant, you're given a current working directory and a command, which is a relative or a absolute path. Actually, let me do a timer for 10 minutes. Okay, so here it could just be CWD is equal to home user, that is current working directory, right? And then CD could just be, let's say, dot dot etc. So here, this is what we are working at. And the output would be home. And we know that this was the last directory we were in. So that would get edited and the answer would be etc. And the other example could be when we had just this, like, and then cd is just equals, let's say, user and etc. So in this case, the output, we were already in the home document. So it would just be user, user, etc. And then what if like cd was empty, right? Like if cwd equals this, and then cd is just maybe like parent directory. So output would just be this. And then I guess one more edge case could just be if CWD current working directly is A, B, C, and we have to current directory to be equals to X, Z, then the output. Actually, wait, sorry, this would be X, Y, Z, and then this. So we start at A, that's good. Then we are at B, current working directory. Actually, so this is what the root is. So we will just have X, and this would cause parent directory to go up, and then the answer would just be C, because that's the current directory. And yeah, and we just like join the stack and return the answer. So to solve this, I think it should be very similar. Like we'll also have to take care of all the elements. And then one way is like we can just split based on that. I'm not even sure how to solve this one honestly, but let's give it a shot. Oops. So to we can do simplified path, and then we'll give in CWD, which is a string, and we'll give CD, which is a string as well. And output is also a string. So what we can do is we can just clean the path first, right? So if we clean it, then we can split it based on just slashes, and then only split it if like the path is not equal to single. So if we do that, then actually I don't know. I need to solve this one and understand this problem better, but thanks for watching.